5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Whenever you are, wherever you are, welcome to the Design of Everyday People live stream, where I talk to senior designers from all over the world and where you get to literally ask them anything. So get your typing fingers ready, and I'll try weaving your questions as the conversation goes. I know we started a bit later today. I am also calling from Tulum, Mexico. So if my internet breaks out, then our guest hopefully will carry the baton while I do some troubleshooting on my end. But let's start making this session as interactive as possible. And tell me, where are you listening to this conversation from? So I know I'm not just shouting into the void. Drop an emoji, drop a city, test my flag knowledge with an emoji, up to you. But let's get this conversation started. Cue the video. This is the Design of Everyday People.
It sound right, boy.
So today's topic is how to land your dream design role. First, we always start with introductions. I'll go first. I'm Chris, the founder of UX Playbook. But before that, a self-taught designer struggling to get into UX. And now I spend most of my time helping designers navigate a fuzzy UX career with UX Playbook, from building your first portfolio to leading your first design team. But that's enough about me. Today, I'm joined by Joseph, head of product design, previously an adjunct professor at NTU Singapore, and now the founder at Career Creators. So let's get Joseph out and see how he's doing. Hey, Joseph, how's it going?
Hey, guy. Hey, Chris. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. How are you doing? If the audience doesn't know you, tell them about yourself, Joseph.
100%. So welcome, everyone. I'm Joseph. I'm Joseph Lewiston. I am the founder of Career Creators. Basically, what I do is I help mid-career UX professionals, be you're a designer or you're a researcher, marketer, content writer, etc., in the UX space, to land 150K to 300K jobs and roles that aligns with your vision and mission without applying online and through strategic networking and impactful store portfolios, right? So yeah, that's what a little about me. And previously, I just left my last role as head of product design at Contact Art. Been there for 3.5 years, and now taking a little career break. After 13 years of working, haven't got a decent career break. So this time it's just going to take a few months off before welcoming my second son at the end of the year in December. So really excited for that. And at the same time, doubling down on my efforts on Career Creators, as well as going to expect to see more content coming out from me about how you can land your dream UX job or your design job. And yeah, that's a little for me.
Nice one. Well, congratulations for the kid on the way, Joseph, in December. Second one. So you've already been through the craziness, so that's good.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Not your first rodeo. Okay, cool. And I want to remind the audience that as we go, please drop your questions in the comments. Sometimes I'll flash this, so you don't, it doesn't go from your head, and we can address it as it comes along. And of course, these conversations are recorded. For the folks that always ask me, where can I find the link? Just head to YouTube and search Chris from UX Playbook, and you'll find the conversation. Okay, cool. So let me introduce our topic today. So I found my dream job actually by accident, right? Like I stumbled into tech, and it wasn't this thing that I planned, stumbled into UX, all that good stuff back in 2015. But most designers don't really get that lucky, right? When they're applying these days, they're thinking it's a numbers game. They spray and pray the resumes everywhere. They build portfolios that no one ends up seeing. They network like it's speed dating. They hope someone feels their passion, and they're just waiting for LinkedIn's magic apply button to actually work, or the easy apply button, shall we say. So that's why I got you here today, Joseph, to discuss how to land your dream role, right? And specifically, we're going to talk about these 3 points: how to access the hidden job market, how hiring actually works inside companies, and then how to build relationships that turn into referrals. And you mentioned, Joseph, that you've helped folks land jobs from 100 to 300K, 150K to 300K through strategic networking and impact portfolios or impact storytelling through the portfolio. So that's really good. So that's why you're here today, and I think we're going to get into it a lot. And so, guys, listen and take notes and ask a lot of questions. So the first thing I want to ask is around this topic of how to access the hidden job market. I mean, what does that even mean, Joseph? Can you give us a definition?
Yeah, 100%. And thanks for the great question. So yeah, in terms of the hidden job market, I think let's first kind of define and demystify what it actually is, right? It's not a secret club that some UXers or designers go to. It is really the 60 to 80% of jobs that is up in the market. This is where it is, right? And these are basically jobs that are not posted online publicly, but they exist out there, right? And so the question is, what does that look like and where does that exist? So I have this thing called the hire and seek pyramid. Basically, there are 7 levels to it. And this is where it just kind of architects the flow of how a hiring manager hires versus how a job seeker seeks. And typically for a hiring manager, what we kind of looked at is the least riskiest option and the least expensive option, right? So one that costs the least and one is the least risk to us. And based on this, we have this pyramid, the first level, which is internal transfers or internal hires, right? These are people who are from within the company, especially if it's a big company and there are other departments and teams. These are other folks from there. When there is an internal job posting that is posted on the intranet, for example, these are people that get interviewed and brought over from the other team. The reason why is the least costly, obviously, and the least risky is because these are people who already know the culture, the vision, the mission of the company. They know the customers, the processes, all of that. And this is very a kind of a no-brainer for a hiring manager to bring on talent real fast. The second level down on that is what we call the internal team hires, right? So these are internal referrals. So these are my one downs, right? These are my immediate team. As a hiring manager, this will be my immediate team of designers, researchers, product managers, engineers, etc. But if I want to kind of look something closer, obviously it would be my design team. The fact is that for my team, I've already know and like and trust them because I've hired them. I love working with them. And typically, if I have a role that's open, I will just say that, hey, who's somebody awesome that you will love to work with and you admire and you respect, right? And typically they will have like 1 or 2 names and they will refer those people in, which is then because I've already hired these people and trusted them. Generally, it's like a friend of a friend. I will have that unspoken bond or unspoken trust with the other person, the referee, right? So this is the internal team where I'm looking at. The next one below is just my peer network, right? Or my internal network on LinkedIn, my other design leaders, other UX folks like self, Chris. If I ever have a role, I will kind of look for these referrals to come in. And basically, it helps with a little of the trust, but obviously it doesn't compare to my internal team, right? One level below that is what I call the talent pipeline. And basically what this means is that if I've previously hired for different roles before, and these are candidates who I've vetted. I look at the portfolio, the resumes, they're all good. But unfortunately, during that time, that was not the right time for them. There was not the right opportunity for them. And they didn't accept it. They didn't move forward with the role in the process, which is okay. We saw them the ATS, as well as those people who we brought all the way to the final round, for example, but didn't give the final offer. And these are people that I want to contact. So talent pipeline in my ATS, in my applicant tracking system, I have a bunch of these people. If I have a role open, I'll just send a mass email out to these folks. Hey, got a new opportunity, a new role. Will you be keen? Will you be interested? The one level below that will be what I call the recruiters and the headhunters. So the recruitment agencies and the headhunters. And these are typically folks who will ask for anywhere from 15 to 25% of placement fee for the first year of your salary for the candidate, right? So it's quite an expensive option, but it makes sense because these are people who are very specialized in sourcing the right type of people, especially if you're in a niche category, a niche industry, a niche market, specific skill sets that the hiring manager or the company is looking for. These are people that can really go out there and find those talent, right? Especially if it's a more discrete role as well, this is going to be very, very helpful. And so this what I just explained to you is the hidden job market. The one level below that will be the public job boards, right? And these are where the hiring managers and the talent acquisition team will just throw out the job role and job description to cross all of the different job boards, be it LinkedIn, Indeed, etc. And it can take quite a bit of time. And it can cost quite a bit because of the number of people that's coming in. So not just the posting of the jobs, but more so in terms of vetting through all those profile, right? I have to hire sometimes one TA or two TAs or talent acquisition partners to go and vet through, right? It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of the man hours to do so. So that's quite costly. And plus, for me as a hiring manager, I have to vet through the portfolios, the resumes, and all that. It takes a lot of time. So it's very expensive and it's low trust, very risky for me to kind of vet through. The final tier, the last one is for your new grad. That would be the new graduates or campus recruitment. Typically, this has cost quite a bit of money. Again, very risky. These are all new grads, but there is an options available for that. But rarely people just, most commonly, people just go for the job boards. So when you kind of look at it, the hiring manager hires from the top down, for what I just said in the order. But for job seekers, typically what happens? You go the reverse order, which is just, mostly just applying on job boards, and occasionally a recruiter will reach out to you and you respond and that's it, right? But they don't go deeper into the networking part, especially within the companies that they are dream or the ideal company, the target companies, especially talking to the hiring manager directly. When they do network, it's typically just sending a connection request and hope and pray, or spamming them with things like, "Hey, I need a job. I saw you have a job role," and it's very typical and it's very like not so ideal, right? And especially if a role is open, it's going to get a ton of it. But the surprising thing is that a lot of this job that you see on the job board that is placed there, there's quite a number of risks that comes into place, especially for the visible job market. One, there's a lot of scams going on around. So there are jobs that's posted that people are stealing information or getting you to pay a certain amount of money to get it. But again, there's no real job at the end of the tunnel. The second one is that a lot of jobs that are posted out there are not real, or they're not really existing or not really going through. Reason why is that some of these companies are going through M&A or merger and acquisition. They're raising a round, or they have just raised a round of fund, and they need to showcase to the investors that they are growing rapidly, or they're making use of that income or that finance. So what they would do is then they would just post out the role and just go through that process to show activity, right? They're going through. And sometimes later you will see that, hey, 2 weeks later, 1 month later, that same role has been reposted again over and over. And sometimes it's due to the hiring managers and the team not having a firm or clear enough distinction of what's their requirement and the criteria, and that's why they're just going through this discovery process, going through. So a lot of wasted effort, and that's why typically the success rate, especially in today's market, is very low where you go through the job boards. And this is why I advocate and work with my clients to really go up and network strategically. But first, starting off with clarity about what is a dream job for them, what's a dream company for them, what are their principles, what is their vision, what's their personality, what type of roles really succeeds them, what's their passion, all of that, so that we can go and identify those companies and start reaching out to them.
Got it. So, I mean, that makes a ton of sense where like most people see the graduate schemes, the job posting, but the layers above that, they hardly ever reach, right? Or if they reach,
100%.
they reach by accident. So would your advice be like, hey, know that there are these 7 layers, and whatever your dream job is, try to figure out which layer has more stock and which layer are more active than not.
Gotcha.
Right.
Very good. Very good question. So typically a lot of people go through the front door, right? Which is the public job, right? And typically what I advocate is this, the backdoor hiring method, right? Basically is focusing, you can't go for the internal hire that doesn't exist to you. So you go one level down, which is the internal referrals from the immediate team, as well as the peer network, right, which is a byproduct, as well as the hiring manager. So it's a backdoor hiring method where you just want to focus on that, right? The reason why you don't go to the recruiters or the agencies and all is typically because they are just a gatekeeper and facilitator of the recruitment process, right? They are not the ultimate one that is making the hiring decision. So you can go through them, but if there's a role, they will place you. If not, what they typically will do is they'll pay you into talent pool and wait for a job to come in. They'll send your profile over. So they don't have that hiring power or decision to be made, but they can make definitely a very good profile of you to send over to the hiring manager. So ultimately for us, what is the place that builds the ultimate trust is the internal team and the hiring manager itself. So we typically start there and just focus on that part of the pyramid through the back door, which likely if you're sending a cold outreach out there to people in those dream companies, typically the response, even if you're pretty bad at it, it'll be about 10%. So 1 in 10. So 9 will reject you or ignore you, which is very, very normal. And 1 in 10 will respond. For me and my clients, we typically get around 20 to 30 average, 2 times to 3 times better. I have one client who got about 85% of response rate because of the way that she personalized her message to every single person that she reached out to. So one of the key things here that I'm trying to advocate a lot more, especially for job seekers, especially in this uncertain market, is that there are certain things that you can control and certain things that you can't control. I can't control the way the job market is. I can't control the way that the job box and how the ATS or magically or unmagically kind of rejects and views my profile. I can't control how the hiring managers hires and all. But what I can control is my message that I send out and reach out to individual people. If I track and see that that is not converting, I can tweak my message so that I can get a follow-up or get a response from them. And typically, you can still send follow-ups as well. So a lot of this is still within your control, which hopefully it gives you back some hope and power and autonomy into your job search process, right? And you don't have to feel like you are just waiting and just praying and hoping that somebody will hit. You can take a more proactive instead of a reactive stance towards your job search. And I think that would be a more strategic approach to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, because what I hear from folks is that, hey, I used to get a bunch of interviews, but now when I've applied, it's been 6 months and I've done lots of applications and nothing has worked. And I'm like, well, what have you tried? And typically it's just like the same approach that I did, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And it's like, well, that doesn't work. And they're not testing and iterating their approach quick enough in order to catch up with what's happening in the reality of the market. So
100%.
that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. I think that market unfortunately doesn't exist yet. I mean, there's always going to be, it's a supply of demand kind of thing, right? So the supply of designers, unfortunately, now with the layoffs, with the self-taught designers coming in, with the number of, huge amount of junior designers, mid-level designers, senior designers in the market, it is competitive, not just in one country, but across the whole world, right? Be in Asia, all the way to America and to the States. So it is a very competitive market. And thus, if you go and continue to using the traditional way of job hunting, which is what we are taught, right, in schools, in universities, from our mentors. I'm sure if you connect with any folks from APD Liz or any mentor, you reach out there, they're going to share with you the same thing. Improve your portfolio, your resume, and all. Which it sounds smart, right? It sounds really very smart and decent. But typically, clients that if I work with, they have redone their resumes and portfolios for like the 37th time, 38th plus time, and they're still not getting results. And it's no wonder, right? Because a lot of this materials that you're working on are not getting seen by the right people. So what we're trying to do is then we're trying to create that surface area of love and create your visibility and get people, the right people from the companies that you want to see you, know you, like you, trust you. And hopefully, from there, you're going to have in a better position where they can refer you into the team, or at least put you in top of mind if there ever a position comes available. In some cases, when a position is not available, you can create that position as well.
Yeah, exactly. I've been speaking to a lot of designers online, and some of them are like, I've never applied for a job. And I'm just like, what the hell? And I think it's because they've created this surface area of luck and they're just always moving and doing stuff. And then naturally, sort of, they're like a magnet, and that gravitates, jobs and people towards them because they're always doing stuff, right? Obviously, sometimes that's just not the reality. Sometimes you've got to like look for that opportunity, but they had been lucky at that certain point in time where they're just doing stuff. And then, roles and opportunities just sort of naturally came to them because they were proactive versus reactive, and just, looking out in the job market versus, staying busy and tinkering and all that other stuff.
100%.
Oh my God. So many people from different places are calling in. And I flashed it earlier when Joe was speaking, but I just want to highlight just everywhere in the world: Nigeria,
Guys,
Egypt, Brooklyn,
wow.
NY, yeah, Texas. So it's a full house today, which is good. And I'll keep monitoring the chat. If you guys have any questions, please, for me or Joe, please let us know in the chat exactly. So the next question I had for you, following
Mhm.
up from sort of this hidden job market, can you help us break down how hiring actually works in the
100%.
company?
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of folks would think about hiring, right? And as a skill competition. It's like, hey, if I got the best skill, if I have the best portfolio, I could win, right? And in throughout our years in traditional schooling, and in terms of how we are brought up, that seems to work, right? If you got a best grade, you typically would score at the top of class and you get whatever position or prize. But in hiring, it's a very different thing. It's not skill competition, it's a risk management, right? So for me as a hiring manager, one of the key thing that I'm trying to avoid is making a bad hiring decision, right? If I hire somebody bad or who's not a good fit, right, and they come in, they work with us through the probation period, maybe for a few weeks or a few months, and decided, hey, ultimately, hey, this is not the right place for me, and leave. And what it comes to me as a hiring manager, and what it results is, it's time and money invested and effort wasted all on this person, all thrown again, and I have to repeat the whole hiring process all over again. And that is so painful and so tiring because I have to go through the job, reviewing the resumes, going through the interview, looking at the portfolio, going to case studies. All of that takes a lot of time. But more importantly for business is that there is an opportunity cost. And sometimes when we bring a person in, it is ready to capture an opportunity in the market. So if I make a bad hire, it could, yes, be quite sad for both sides, right? But more so is then maybe I lose my strategic place and positioning in the market, right? Because I failed to capture this opportunity or fail to close this project. So it becomes a real big burden and risk to the company if there was a bad hire. And thus, throughout the entire process, and that's why we look at resumes and portfolios to kind of get a sense of your skill set. But more so later is that we're trying to understand through the interview. By the time you reach the interview stage, in terms of skill set, you're kind of pass, right? And you kind of meet the benchmark or the minimum requirements. And those interview sessions is more around like, hey, I want to understand your mindset, right? Are you someone that is coachable? Do you have a growth mindset? Are you easy to manage? What's your soft skill? All of that, right? Then plus, the more important one is that even for me, I've seen like senior designers and really smart and talented folks, right? They made through, they passed through, and they work at companies that you and I would be really, really envious to and want to work at as well. They will make it all the way to the final round, and they would somehow, one way or another, fail to get their offer. And what really happens is because it is not because they lack the skill, right? The skill clearly they have clearly demonstrated in terms of the challenges, the portfolio presentation. They clearly have that. But at the last stage, maybe the hiring manager or one person from the hiring team will feel like, hey, I'm not sure so and so is the right fit. I'm not sure whether this person really will fit in our team, right? And it comes back to this thing called fit, right? And what it really means is the cultural fit and the sense and the gut feel of whether this person can really vibe with the team or can really work well with the team. And I kind of look at fit at three levels. First one is me as a hiring manager, right? A manager fit or one-on-one, whether, for the next, week of like the next, for a week, working week of around 30 to 40 hours and like 6 to 8 hours a day of working together. Can I work with this person? Do I enjoy working with this person? Right? Can I mentor him? Can I coach this person? Can I manage them well and they respond to it? I'm trying to look for that fit. The next one I look at is the team fit, right? So that's where if the person passed my round, they go through to my team. My team is trying to figure out and get a sense whether this candidate that comes in or this designer that comes in, are they going to be a good fit with the team? Are they going to complement the team in terms of the skill set, the diverse skill set, or they're going to disrupt the entire culture and vibe of the team, which becomes very harmful, right? Because if I bring one bad apple in, I lose the entire crop, which is no hiring manager, no company wants to do that. And then the highest level is when after they pass all of that and they have the final round with my manager, my CEO, founder, managing director, etc. At that level, what they're trying to figure out is a cultural fit at the organizational level, at a company level, at a business level. Whether can they see this person working for the long haul? Again, the last thing we want is for someone to join a company to just stay for a few months and leave, right? Or a year and leave. At least, 2, 3 more years in the company would be great. So retaining that employee in is very important. And so what they're looking for is, do you align with the mission, the vision, the purpose of the company? Do you believe in the product and what they're doing? And can you see yourself? Are you passionate about the area? Are you passionate about the problem they're solving? So it's really more around that, right? And a lot of times, candidates unable to articulate or storytell or communicate their value and their fit in those sessions and those interviews and tasks, they don't so well and they don't get the final offer. So a lot of this consideration is happening for our hiring side, for our hiring manager, and it becomes critical. And hopefully this helps you a little. Because what we are trying to think about is like number one, speed. If this person comes in, how fast can we bring this person to come in and get the ball rolling? Are they able to ramp up fast enough so that we don't have to train and overtrain this person? Are they already have the kind of same mindset with us in terms of, have they solved this problem similarly before outside, and can they get the ball rolling again, ramping up as fast as possible? The fit I've talked about in terms of, do you measure of the team, communicate the team? Is there any ego there? I think the last one is ultimately, like all relationship, right? The foundation of it is trust. Do I trust this person? Do I trust this designer, researcher, whoever, to do the job, right? Are they who they say they are in the resume, in the interview? And if I bring in, can they do the job? And especially when things get messy and hairy. So it's a very complex kind of situation in terms of how hiring works. But the candidate that becomes the no-brainer, the least riskiest option, the most trusted person in the highest of value, they become the no-brainer and the obvious choice for the hiring manager and the hiring team to get the final offer.
I love the way you explained how hiring works. It's really a task of risk mitigation versus skill comparison, right? Where people are like, oh, I need to make a decision that will be good for the company, the team, and my teammates, versus I need the best person in the world, because it's very hard to find the best person in the world, especially with all these companies throwing $1 million for engineers and designers, right? It's like, how are you going to compete there? There is also something that, like, how much stock do you put on this? Because if we take it from okay, this company is trying to de-risk this hiring decision, therefore
Yes.
they put a bunch of crazy processes in. We've all heard the Google, 8 rounds of interviews. How
Yes.
much stock do you put into your hiring process? And what can you tell the folks out there in terms of like how to navigate the process? Is it that important or is it not?
Yeah. So that is if you go through a very typical hiring process, right? If you co-apply job application, you go through the recruiter screen and the hiring manager interviews, etc. Right? But if you hack the process, if you social engineer that by speaking to the people in the team, referring, having those casual chats or those informal chats, and eventually with the hiring manager, in some way or another, you have already have those interviews, right? And that's why when I say about getting interviews, is not the very traditional sense, right? You're already having conversations with the people in the hiring team, especially the ones that are making the hiring decision. And this is where sometimes things can happen very differently. So, for example, myself, again, if you build a personal brand, you typically have people reaching out to you. So for the last few roles that I have, is all through people who have found me, referred me, or headhunted me, right? So, like for example, one of the roles I got is, a hiring manager reach out to me and say, "Hey, we have this. We're looking for somebody to do this role, right? Will you be keen about this opportunity?" And I said, "Yeah, cool. Love to have a chat." Had a chat. And again, this job description is not even posted online yet, right? So I had a chat, did very well, and then the next thing they'll say is like, hey, can you just go and apply? We just launched the job description online on the job board. Can you just go to this link and apply and fill out your details so that we can just process the, with our HR team formally. So there is opportunity for that to happen, right? And at the same time, through the network that you have built, all the different conversations, people will have a good impression of you. So having that process in place will really kind of bypass a lot of those traditional hiring process, and actually honestly you'll make that decisions much faster. So, and that's where referrals, if you go through the traditional format again, typically there, for all the job applied into the company, there will be one board, and there's another that is the referral list that is all referred by the different people. But again, that could be any Tom, Dick, and Harry in the organization to refer in that list. But if I'm the hiring manager and my immediate team shared that, hey, you should speak to so and so. I have spoken to them. They did great work. Here's their stuff. You have to look at that, and it's shared between team chats and WhatsApp messages and all. That becomes a very different type of conversation where exceptions can be made in terms of the hiring process. Because ultimately, end of the day, the company has a problem. It needs to get fixed, and you're trying to find the most trusted, most obvious person that can solve that problem. So, yep, it depends on how you think through that process in a very strategic way and understand the psychology and the feelings and emotions behind that.
Yeah, I just want to double click on something that you said, which I think is genius, which is social engineering this opportunity. Like, how do you figure out who's the people you need to speak to, and what situations can you put yourself so you can get these opportunities? And one question just came in around this hiring process, which is, what's the best way to find out who's on the internal team or involved in the hiring process for a specific role? Maybe this is something you can help us with.
100%. So very typically, if you go to the job description of any role on LinkedIn, again, keep in mind that I like how I kind of treat any job listing out there or job description. It's just a signal indication that this team has a problem and they're hiring, right? Whether that role has been filled or is fake and all that, okay, you have to kind of put a bit of disclaimer and caution towards that, all right? But bypass that, going straight to your question, is very simple. So for that on LinkedIn, mostly on LinkedIn, you can see who's the hiring manager or hiring team, because LinkedIn showcase that. And the reason why they want to do that is so that you can send a connection request, send an email. That's how they make money. Eventually, you subscribe to the premium plan, you can do a lot more of this, right? So that's one. The other way, sometimes if it's hidden and it's not clear, then this is where I look at the job description, right? If I look at the job description, typically they will mention certain keywords: experienced team, data team, or internet infrastructure team that you're doing this. Like, there are some team that this design is going to be attached to and work in. So what you're going to do is find that keyword, find that team, highlight it, go and search that keyword, and then under the company's filters on LinkedIn, go and filter down to that company, and you can see who is employing that. And then if you have LinkedIn Career Premium, which if you're job searching, you should, as the lowest, cheapest plans of LinkedIn allows you to send anywhere from 150 to 200 connection requests with personalized invite every single week. So in 1 month, you can send up to 600 to 800 every single week. All right, that's in the power of you. So you can go and find these people, and you can filter down by job title or their title, and you can put in designer, design, and typically you see the people working in the team that you can reach out to. All right. If all that doesn't work and you still can't find, cool, no worries. You know the company, you know the job title, you go and find those people and speak to any of those people first. And through that conversation, and especially in a face-to-face, then this is where you can bring up the topic. Hey, just saw this job posting online in your company that you guys are hiring from. Just curious. I know you guys are a big team and big organization. Curious, do you know who is, which team does this belong to? Who's the hiring manager? Love to find out more and have a chance to speak to him. If is that something that you're open to referring? That itself is much better. Obviously, you're getting inside intel and all, right? So hopefully those 3 ways for you to find, and hopefully that's helped, Maurice.
Yeah, and I'll add something as well. If this has happened to me. If designers don't reply on LinkedIn or email, which sometimes they don't, they're just like, I'm too busy to do work. You can always directly reach out to the hiring and recruitment team, because
Of
they
course
are
you can.
typically way more active, because they are looking for people to fill these roles. And you can really point your question if you want to illuminate the hiring process, because obviously they are working on this as well alongside the design partner. So it's like, hey, they will be, I think, potentially more helpful if you're just trying to learn about the hiring process and the different rounds and what's required. And then for the design part is obviously you're thinking about like, how do they judge what a good designer is? But typically you could, if designers don't reply to you on the team for whatever reason, then try the recruitment partner or whoever's hiring, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Mm.
For those roles that has listed and posted, yes, you going through that path would be great.
Yeah. Okay, so our last topic here before we jump into the questions, because I know we have a lot, but some of them didn't really fit with the flow of conversations. Okay, so the last one is, how do we build relationships that turn into referrals? What have you seen work, Joe? How do you approach this with the people you coach?
Yeah, very good. So I think the first thing is, obviously you want to kind of treat this as a process, right? And you want to, as a trust building process, right? So when you reach out to somebody, what you are is just a cold stranger and random stranger on the internet, all right? What we're trying to do is try to move that cold from being a cold stranger to a warm connection, and then eventually to be a trusted advisor, someone that they can vouch for, advocate for, champion for, and really support and sponsor you in hiring decisions in the company. All right. So how we want to kind of draft that is very simple. First, you reach out to them and once you found them and whatever company, you reach out to them and you drop them a connection request and ask them very specifically, like, hey, I made a compliment to them, a specific compliment. If they've written a post, compliment on that post, right? And like that post and share one insight, two insights they've taken away from that, and share in terms of why you're connecting with them, give them a specific reason, and share in terms of, hey, typically I like to kind of frame the way is just be curious about the career, right? So, hey, I noticed that you came from the last role and yeah, this is the current role they at. I'm just curious, hey, was what kind of motivated that move? Was it more of the company mission, or was it just in terms of the product and the excitement or the tech, right, or the AI? Love to connect because I'm thinking of making a similar move myself. Yeah, love to connect with you. Something like that, very kind of like personal and just very curious, will highly prompt people to respond, right? And it's nothing salesy. You're not asking for a referral yet because it's too early anyway, right? There are people out there who mass spam connection requests with referral. Can work, but again, you're just playing a very low short-term game. What we're trying to do here is playing a very long-term game and build real relationships and friendship. So after that happens, if the person connects with you, great. Couple of back and forth messages and really be curious about them, understand them, add value to them if possible, and then transit into a live call with them. Typically, I advise for 15 minutes, a very short call with them, and ask them about the career, ask them about the type of work that they do, why they make the decision to join that company, eventually about the culture of the company, the priorities of the company, and what are some of the problems that they are tackling or solving in the company and all. What you're trying to do is do research, right, about what are some of the challenges and the problems the company is going through and what's their focus and priority. So that later, after you've spoken to 2-3 people in that company, you have a better idea of what are some of the challenges and what's the priorities, and then you can do it couple with your own secondary research of user interviews, user reviews, customer reviews, etc., and come back with a proposal, a pitch of a 10, 11 page slide deck of high level ideas, no design, just high level ideas. If you are really curious and that is really your company, because through that chat, you're trying to figure out whether it's going to be a good fit for you as well. So again, you're social engineering that the interview process, the hiring process yourself. And you try to figure out whether it's a good fit for you. If it's a good fit, great. Do what I call the MVP or Trojan horse dog to go in and proactively showcase your idea, your thinking, your problem solving ability, and start conversation. The whole purpose of it is start conversation. Once you're done with that, send back to them, ask them for feedback, and and co-create with them. And then from there, typically what happens is that once that doc is being sent to them, if it's really impactful and it's really good ideas, what happens is that they will send it in the Slack channel, in the group chat, and just share it around and said, hey, I just spoken to this person online, really good person, really good fit, had some very interesting ideas. What do y'all think? And then a conversation starts happening and brewing. All right. If it doesn't happen and doesn't convert, no worries. That piece of artifact or big or that portfolio or that audit that you've done becomes a very another piece of your portfolio that you can put on, right? And more importantly, is targeted towards your dream company and dream industry that you can use to. I have clients who previously done something like that, landed interviews, but just at the end of the day, the hiring manager decided to go another way, put it on her portfolio, and another hiring manager saw it, really loved it, wasn't hiring at the moment, but a couple months down later, thought of her again, and then after one conversation, she got hired. So it's very possible for you to get value out of this piece of work that you're doing, and it's just a few hours of work, and it's pretty simple and straightforward as well. But the more important thing is that now you have an artifact that your champion, the person that you're talking to, can refer you, can have strong, it makes them feel, because at the end of the day, right, if you kind of think from the referral point of view, what they're risking? They're risking their reputation. If they refer somebody who is bad, they're risking their entire brand, their personal brand, their reputation in the company. Especially if they manage to get this person in, hired, and do a bad job, they're going to look bad on that. Nobody wants to be put in that position. Yeah, sure, there is a referral fee and all that they can earn, but that's a very short-term thinking, right? You're thinking long-term. So in order for that to happen, you can send in your resume, your portfolio, but all these are all past work that may or may not be relevant to the job that you're applying for, the company and the industry that you're thinking of going into. So how can we then proactively create artifacts that are targeted solutions to the companies that we want to get hired in? And this is where we create this so that the referrer or the person who's advocating and championing you doesn't look bad, and more so they can be a champion and have like tangible artifacts and things to as proof of work of your value as well. So that's how we want to kind of think about the referral process, right? Does it take time? Yes. Is it worth it? Definitely is. So it's really up to you in terms of where you're at in your job hunt. If you've been doing this hunting for a few months, and some of them like 1 or 2 years, sometimes it's just the method and approach you're doing, and maybe it's worthwhile to try something different and see maybe different results.
What do you say when designers come to you and they say, I don't do free work. I don't
Sure.
do design challenges. This
Sure.
sounds like too much. What do you say to that?
Sure. It's your prerogative. It's your decision to make. And it's fair, right? Everyone has an opinion, and you feel free to arrange that. And you can do other forms of reputation building and trust building, posting content online, reaching out to people, meeting and networking events, all very possible. But at the end of the day, if you want to stand out and be the top 1% of candidates who are thinking differently and acting differently, again, you want to kind of do things differently. But more importantly, all this exercise that you're doing is also a reflection for yourself, right? If the whole fact of you doing this research, because the work that you're essentially doing and some ideas these are all work that you eventually would have to do if you are hired into the position. And what you're trying to do is for just a few minutes, less than an hour, trying to figure out if that is even of interest to you. If just going through that and just looking at that is bores the bejesus out of you, then you know that it's not going to be a good fit. So that is a clear. Instead of wasting months and years in a bad job in a bad company, now you know that within less than an hour, a few minutes, that this is not a good fit, which is great, right? You save a lot of time and opportunity cost that. Or sunken cost facility. The other way is kind of think about it in the high level, right? Right now, every month that you're past and you're not getting a job, you're losing potential money, potential income that you can make. More so as well as the time that you invested in this. Typically for a doc and MVP like that, in terms of our process, it can take 1 day or half a day. Pretty straightforward, pretty fast to do. And let's say your effective hourly rate is like $200, $300, whatever. And if you kind of multiplied it, maybe 3 of the companies that you've done it for reject you and all. But eventually, the fourth one they did accepts and really see the values in you and hires you. You would have effectively made a lot more money in the longer run if this new job. So I think the question back to you is really, and folks who are considering and thinking about this is, what do I have to lose right now? Right? If I have the time to go and do it instead of spending hours looking at job boards and scrolling or just scrolling on the LinkedIn feed and feeling sad and tired and just rejected, which you can. But I think the other way to kind of think about it is take back control in your career. Take back control of your career. Take back control of your job search. Take back control of you advocating and showcasing your value, to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. I think that is still within your power, and you have that control to do so. And this is one way. There are many other ways that you can do. And a lot of times, for clients who I work with and they don't want to kind of do the work, no worries. All you have to do is just pitch to the other person at the end of the call. Hey, if I come back with a few ideas, and maybe I record it in a 5 minutes Loom video, walking through them, would you all be open to that? Yes. Okay. Then do. So ask permission first, and then if someone gave you the permission, then great, go and do it. All right. If not, then don't. But I think only do this. You're not going to do this for every single company. That's a bit ridiculous, and it's not the best and not a very strategic thing. We only do this for the top 3 companies, top few companies that really aligns with our mission, our vision, in terms of what we're looking out in a dream job. All right. So don't do this for everyone. It's not supposed to. You're supposed to just do this for companies that truly you see in alignment to what you're looking for in a dream role.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I love that answer, man. Okay, we have so many questions, so I'm gonna, without further ado, let's just dive into all of these.
Yes, please.
I'm just gonna go in a bit of a random order because there's a lot of folks who asked. So let's just go to the first one that I have here. I'm gonna flash it on the screen. Let's just say I have a dream job and I have applied many times for an open position and wrote to the recruiters too. What else shall I do? I have a niche which is mostly for UX, architectural software and construction. It cuts it off here, but the question here is, how can I find these positions and to whom shall I write, the designers or the higher profile? So here is about kind of like very niche role in UX. What does this person do?
Very good. So clearly from, again, we have to kind of make a shift, right? In terms of our thinking, like I explained, the hire and seek pyramid, try to avoid the job boards or open position, because typically this could be roles that is replaced or you just have a lot of competition over there. The next one is recruiters. For open roles, you can reach out to them, but again, they're going to be swamped and overwhelmed. So the next real people that you want to kind of reach out to is hiring managers or the team that is working in or for that role, right? If it's an open position. But typically, again, the hiring managers will be swamped. So the group of people who are a bit less occupied or less swamped would be the team, the design team, the product team, the growth team, etc. So you want to reach out to people with those job titles in that company. And again, the conversation is not immediately just saying, hey, I see you have a job opening. Can I get referred to it? If you're thinking the mindset, then yeah, maybe that is not how networking works, right? Again, you want to be genuine about this person. Hey, I noticed you have this career. Either you stay in the same city, same state, or they made a recent post, or they have a portfolio. You really like the case study. They saw an article they've written. They really liked it. Something that personalized to that person that you're reaching out to, being curious about the person and start forming that connection. And the key job is for you to get accepted and then get a reply, and then this way you can continue the conversation. So I'll say the key thing is rethink about which level of the hire and seek pyramid that you are at. Typically go for the internal team to reach out to and then start conversations there.
Yeah, and I think I would add something about the specific point where she said, how can I find these positions? Well, if you've been already applying to these companies, then you could just have a look at their competitors. And basically, your job is to find out what companies are in this architectural software and construction space, right?
So many.
And yeah, there must be so many. You can just probably ask ChatGPT for the top 50 and it will tell you. And then you could manually comb through those ones and say, okay, well, which one actually has job opening? Which one can actually find the people on that team? And then go through that manually. But there's probably a better way to approach it than just job boards, for example, because it is 100%. Quite niche, right?
100%. And one simple thing is like what Chris shared. I can ask ChatGPT, companies similar to this or in this doing this too. If you already have one dream company, like Autodesk, for example, all you need to do is put Autodesk, maybe a specific tool or product that you're using, and just put competitors or alternative and do a Google search. There's going to be a whole list. All right. And this is typically how, especially B2B products or software products will have, and they'll have a bunch of listings and comparison. And you can go through that whole list of the other competitors. And maybe Autodesk, because it's a big company, may not be right for you. Maybe for you, you don't like the hierarchy and the red tape and the bureaucracy. Maybe something that is smaller, more niche could be a better fit. So again, it's through this discovery and research process you're doing to figure out, hey, which of this company could be a better fit? And then from there, you do your research. Same method.
There you go. Okay, so the next one up is, with many companies now expecting product designers to be generalists covering UX, UI, research strategy, and even some front end, how do specialist designers fit into this landscape? Is there still space for deep expertise in one area, or is generalism the new standard?
Gotcha. So every company has a different need and requirement. Again, end of the day is it's a very limited kind of view in terms of thinking whether generalist specialists. There's going to be companies that value specialists. There's going to be companies that value generalists. If you kind of look at the broad stroke, startups, smaller companies, generalists, bigger companies, if you think of it like a bigger factory, they hire specialists. Is that still going to be true? May not. Things will change over time, especially with AI. Everyone can be a master or subject matter expert, right? Based on a few search and prompts. So a better way to kind of think about it is, hey, start with clarity again, right? What are my passion? What are some problems that I'm really, really interested in, which I spend a lot of time researching and figuring out and solving for my own personal life and all that? Cool. What are some companies that are solving those things? All right. And I call this the jackpot formula for myself with my clients. We go through and work this in our one-on-one call together and get very clear about the exact type of companies that is. Because at the end of the day, one of the key things, rather than specialists, journalists, and all that, more fruitful and meaningful strategic conversation that you should be thinking of and question you should be thinking of is a hiring manager will typically ask, or anybody in the team would be asking, like, why us? Why us as a company? Why do you want to join us? Right? And the question they're trying to figure out is, are you going to be a good fit? Right? And more so is that, are you going to stay here for a long time or a short time? And what they're trying to figure out is, do you have this innate passion or desire or drive or alignment with what you're doing? And if you are just there and say, yeah, I'm here for the money, I'm here for the job, I need a job, I like the culture, I like the vibe, I like the product you're doing, I like the free lunches, sure. But that doesn't make you a very strong candidate. But if you can reconnect it with your deeper purpose of like why you got into design and it's really because of this, or it's a personal problem that you face, maybe, for example, not very fashion literate, low income family like myself, but because of financial literacy and just researching and learning about it, I got really, really good in it. And this is where when I approach banks or insurance company, I would like to share that story with them. And that's what really connected with them. Same thing with education, in the education space. Not too well to the family. Both my parents are disabled, both are wheelchair users. So from a young age, we really had to be very independent and look after ourselves. Education was the part where it really uplift my family and kind of shifted the dynamics for it. And we did study very hard, did very well, managed to go from lower income to somewhat of a average, above average income. So that is a story that I share. And even with like other candidates who I know who are else is interviewing, because it's a very small industry, have 10 plus years more experience than me, I still beat them because of that connection, of that story, of that real authentic story. So what you're trying to do better is, instead of worrying whether it's a journalist specialist, which anybody could be hiring for, more importantly is, what is that clarity of what's your passion, what's the problem you're interested in solving, and how can you find companies that is related to that values whatever skill sets and traits you have to help them solve the problem that they have. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, because I think that question, generalists versus specialists, has probably always existed, right? And it would always exist. Like, people are looking for different things. Yeah, that's just going to be one of those things. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So be all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, here is one. A couple of questions. Would you say it's better to
Very good.
connect stroke network with people from startups or big companies?
Yeah.
I'm with you on the speed dating analogy. How can I build a stronger connection with people I'm having a 15-minute chat with after connecting over LinkedIn?
Gotcha. Cool. So in terms of whether startup or big companies, one of the key things you want to kind of look and kind of figure out is just reflect on your career. If you have a long career myself, there's a lot to reflect. If you have a short career, still can reflect and just kind of look through at all those companies that you worked at um, and whether just do you enjoy it. So some folks have worked in enterprise and big organization all their life and they're okay with it. Great. And enterprise, big organization works. But for folks that they have worked big enterprise for a time, but they want to kind of see what the other side, if whether the grass is greener on the other side, sure, they experimented, they don't like it, and now they're back, right? Or some could really like the startup vibe and they go with that. I have worked from starting my own studio, working in a design agency, working in government, working in a big bank, working in a big social co-op, an insurance company, and working in a startup. I'm able to adapt to all, no issues. All right. So it really comes down to a personal preference in terms of what you like. Right. And every company, even big organization, big enterprise, will have a startup vibe because it depends on the team that you're working on. So I guess the key thing is you won't really know because every company is a little different. So what you have to do, like every designer, wear your researcher hat, go and have those interviews and those chats and try to figure it out whether that vibe or that culture and that way of working really suits your own working style, or it just challenge you a little and you don't mind trying. So it's coming back to your own personal preference. Okay.
Right. And how do you build a connection in 15 minutes? Because typically, obviously,
Yeah, very
it's
good.
like very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your advice there?
So typically, in terms of that 15 minutes, if the conversation is good, and again, active listening, you ask questions and you active listen, and you repeat back. Typically, that's how I do for my first dates when I was dating. People will generally feel like they have a good conversation, right? Because most of the time they'll be speaking rather than you. But more importantly is like some of this 15 minutes conversation could extend to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, longer. I have a client who I work with. She had a small chat and eventually I think that turned into a 2 hours chat with the other person. So again, great, right? How are you going to have this in an interview? You never have this. And you get to know people like deeper down. Is it going to happen to everybody? No. All right. And this is where after the chat, you spoken to a few other people, great. You come back with a real tangible artifact and start the conversation again. If not, what you can do is continuously provide value. So if you come across an article, a report, a blog post, or a LinkedIn post that resonates and really kind of touches on what they are thinking about or what they're shared with you, share it. You come across a resource, share it. And this is where you slowly kind of build that relationship up as well. So you're not going to land on your first date. You're not going to propose on your first date. So yeah, even speed dating, you don't propose on the first date as well. So yeah, you still have to have a few follow-up dates as well, right? So yeah, just if you think that way, yeah, it's not arranged marriage. So it's a love marriage. So you have to take a bit of time to get to know the person.
Yeah, guys, just please don't propose on the first date. Don't be that weirdo. Yeah, like it doesn't come across that well when you're like, "Hey, let's get in bed," like straight away, right? Get to know them. Okay, cool. Another one coming in here. What have you seen the best candidates do differently, mainly in their portfolio and resume? If we can kind of focus on that, when they don't have referrals or big logo in their resume, but still manage to stand out.
Gotcha. So I'll still advocate for the networking and the not referrals, but just kind of building that relationship and that trust. But if just solely based on resume for a start, it will be just how they describe themselves and position themselves, right? Be it from the top and how they position specifically who they help, who they serve, and what type of solutions, what type of skill sets, what type of strengths do they have, all down to each of the resume bullets. Typically write in an XYZ format. You have accomplished what results by measured by what metrics, by doing what actions or initiative. Share that. A lot of times people they just kind of copy and paste job description and put it there and just like articulate their role and responsibility, which may seem smart, but it's really not, because for the recruiter, the talent acquisition person, or the hiring manager, they are unable to visualize and see your impact, right? If you don't put it in quantifiable numbers or describe it as well, all right? And it's not curious enough for them to find out, that is cool in terms of their achievement. I love to find out more, and that's why they will invite you for a chat. All right. So you want to kind of create something that's of intrigue. The other thing is, especially for companies that is not so big, you don't have the big logos, especially if you work in startups or in small companies that are lesser well known. One of the key things that you can think and seriously consider putting is a company description. Just a one line or two liner to describe what is the company. Right. So in some cases, people will not know, right? Especially if you're from another country or the industry is very niche and all, people might not know that company. Is it a startup? Is it a medium-sized company? Is it a big enterprise? How much revenue they're making? What is their industry? What's the customer's type? Like, people will not know. So what you want to do is, after you write your job title, your role, and your duration, your tenure, write one sentence to describe the company. And the second sentence maybe is sharing about the team that you're involved, what's your role and responsibility in that team. For me, for example, I'm a manager. I have led and built up teams of I think it was about 9 people across like 6 different countries around the world, and then I'll put something like that, right? So that just kind of give a sense of like what's my role and responsibility there. Then for later, followed by the 3 bullet points that is just focused on impact and storytelling in terms of how I've done that, and I'll repeat this across the other resume bullets. All right. So in terms of resume, if you want, the other thing that I do with my clients as well is bring up the career accomplishments that is tailored to each of the role, and bring it up. So it can be a copy and paste of those resume bullets that you have put below, but for each role, it's going to be different in terms of the skill sets and the achievement. So you don't just find the relevant ones and put it up in the career accomplishments after you've done a bit of an intro in terms of yourself. All right. In terms of portfolio, very typical. And I mean, if you Google it, everyone can see it. Impact, storytelling, explain the reasons and decision of why you're making those decisions, and backed by data and all that. It's a very typical advice, but it still rings true. And one of the best ways that I have worked with my clients to do to kind of articulate their story, it's just focus on the headlines. So if you are designing for skimmability, and a hiring manager or recruiter would have less than a minute, 30 seconds or lesser, 10 seconds even sometimes, to review your portfolio, your materials, you want to kind of design for that in mind, right? So number one, have executive summary of just basically the context of what's the problem, the objective, the value that you have brought to this problem, and then the impact or the results. You just share this 4 key things, so it serves as a anchoring bias or an anchor to, and also intrigue whether the hiring manager or the person who's viewing it will want to read further. They don't have to wait and read the entire case study to get those key information. If it intrigues them enough, then they will invest another minute or 2 to read through your case study. Right? If you look at your case study, just focus on the headline. So if you imagine, most people, what they do is research, user interviews, insights, some personas, some ideation sketches, like kind of very typical kind of process, right? But what you want to kind of do is, if a hiring manager is just scanning and going through your portfolio or your case study, if they just read the headlines, are they able to get a gist and a kind of a good idea of what your process is like, the decisions you have made? If it is, then it's great. So think about every headline as an insight statement or as a statement that explains that part of that activity that you have just done here, right? Because you're designed for skimmability and we just skim through the headlines, right? So where people kind of not do so well is that they just put the generic titles and they put one long big para and you expect it to read, which is impossible. You put bullets, could help, but still nothing beats having storytelling headlines. And that's what I advocate for. Coffee? Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Joe?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. I think one thing I would add here is that, so the question is, how do you manage to stand out, right? You have no logos or referrals.
Yeah.
I think what could help someone stand out is basically just designing stuff and launching it on the internet. Like,
very good.
There's plenty of folks on Twitter that don't have big logos or big brand names behind them or referrals, but they just like have cool side projects, or they have funky portfolios that when you land on it within 5 seconds, you're like, oh, this is really cool. And with the tools now we have at our disposal, you can just literally spend a weekend project and have that as an interesting piece. And instead of having the standard portfolio, have something a little bit different. So again, it's going to be something that you're going to have to test, and you're going to have to take more risk if you want to stand out, because you can't play the game like everybody else. So if you've tried and applied for so long, 6 months, 12 months, and you're still kind of getting ghosted, maybe it's, time to say, okay, I'm just going to go crazy and see what, put my skills to the test and see if the online community likes it. Because I know for a fact that the designers that I think about are the ones like putting work out there. And I'll be like, oh, I'll really like that person if I was to hire a web designer, right? Or if I wanted to work on this specific product, I could think of a few people in my head because I've seen their work already alive on the internet. So that's how I think about it now when I'm thinking like, oh, who do I think about when I think about dashboards, for example? And there's literally one designer that always like publishes stuff online about dashboards. And that's the only person I can think about, right? And I probably will do that first versus, like publishing a job description. So like try to like, do something there. It's like easier than ever to sort of work on fun projects with friends. Figma is free, so you can really literally do anything. So, don't think around that you're just trapped in this box of like standard portfolios and standard resumes. And me as a hiring manager, I never cared about resumes, and that's the reality of my team, but a lot of teams do. So, but you have to think about like, what else can you do that's like, a bit outside the box or also more interesting, because you don't just want to work on your portfolio and resume all the time. You want to work on your craft and you want to have fun, right? So what is fun? Designing side projects, something interesting, right?
Yeah. So like one side project that really got me hired in my last role was just the fact that I have an Instagram account that I posted every single day for 100 days and wrote long reflections, as well as on Substack as well. And one of the key things that my CEO was looking for was this ability of how you learn, right? And his one of his core values is about learning. And because I've done this reflection and I do instead of just reading for reading's sake, but I actually write about it, and my writing is hopefully some sort decent, that really kind of like convinced him, like, hey, maybe it's a really good fit in terms of how we think alike and all that. So that itself helped me, right? A writing project, posting every single day. Who would thought? I did it for myself, but eventually it helped out. And I also had another client who, for the longest of time, very scared of posting anything, and he finally, after a couple of coaching sessions, finally decided, got the courage to go and post. And when I think on his second post, he just posted a side project that he was been doing a lot of time, but he haven't just posted. And he went on viral on X. He also went viral on LinkedIn. He got about 700 plus in likes and engagement on LinkedIn. I think on X it got about 50 plus K in terms of impressions and all that. So it's like really happy. And he's like someone that's never really posted before. So what I'm trying to say is like, yes, take the chance, have the courage to go and do it. The fact of what is stopping you from doing it is the differentiator, is the moat. Because a lot of people can't get past that, right? And the fact that if you have the courage to do that, that becomes your differentiator. And to stand out is actually a lot easier, right? In LinkedIn, like they like to say, 1% of the members in the entire kind of user base posts once a week. So if you post 3 times a week, you get there. If you post every single day like myself, you stand out quite a fair bit as well, right? I came from like 6,000 followers to now 36,000. Chris obviously is a lot more, but I also got LinkedIn top voice as well. So that's my little push on you as well. But again, that's all through consistent effort, right? So you want to kind of think of this in the long term as well, and share a bit of the behind the scenes, and that's really fun, exciting as well.
Yeah, and there's another example here of like, Trevor Nielsen, another designer, from full time, you know, something happened, his company was like, sorry, man, we've got to let you go, to freelance and not really thinking about him being a full-time freelancer, to now, you know, working with multiple clients and just freelance. And he attributes it to just sharing his work online, sharing his thoughts, sharing whatever he feels like, because at the end of the day, you know, it increases your surface area of luck. And also, you know, whether it's sharing design or thoughts or anything like that, I think you can get into a rhythm of just kind of advocating for yourself. And I think that's a very key skill to have when you quote unquote want to stand out, because you can only advocate for you, right? You're not going to try to pretend to be anyone else. So, you know, if you are getting stuck in this sort of portfolio and resume kind of trap or death spiral, then you should try something else. And just for mental sake, right? Like get out of this. So another question from Dane that always comes in. Hi Dane, how's it going? What skills, soft or hard, are you seeing giving designers the most leverage in their growth and job search?
Wow. Soft skills. Interesting. I want to say communication, but I think a deeper part of it is just I don't know if it's a skill, right? But I love to kind of think of it as skill. Self-awareness. Having self-awareness and just doing the deep work, right? And that is typically the first thing that I get my clients to do. Just a lot of self-awareness. Because what most people do, and they go into the job search, right? Especially if they get laid off or they're just in the mode of looking for a job, they just open the job board and just keep applying. And maybe the first week or first month, they will just apply for very selectively for certain jobs that they like and they interest them. Then after the next few months, they will just mass apply every single job. Just apply, blah, 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 blah. And then they just go into this spiral, and then you'll see, hey, why is it not working? Why is it not converting? Because you just caught yourself into this trap, right? The designers that really kind of leverage in their growth and their job search is when they are very clear about what they want, what their strengths are, what their superpowers are, what their zone of genius are, what their values are, what their mission, their long-term vision are, what their preference, who they like to work with, not work with, what are companies, all of that. What are the non-negotiables? What are the 3-5 things that brings them the most joy about the work they do? Like all of that allows you to be very clear in terms of who are you going to reach out to, who are the right people, who are the right companies you're going to reach out to, what are message, what are content you want to be posting and advocating and sharing out there. So I see that is, especially in this century and like in this, this job market right now, I think that itself is going to be highly underrated. I think it's going to be super important. And I know I found a lot of help and success from that. And I know my clients as well will have that. So yeah, highly advocate self-awareness if that is a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely a skill. One, I would say probably towards the more hard skill part is speed and momentum. I think with speed builds momentum. So if you're saying, okay, well, what is the most leveraging growth and job search? It's just speed. Like because speed gives you also reps of if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to work towards something, if you're looking for a job, for example. So here's an example. So if like in speed, let's just say you have a job already, but if you are someone that's known to work quick and work fast, people just automatically around you like you because they're like, oh, this person gets stuff done, right? There's also, when you work with speed, you tend to not ask for permission because you see that as more of a blocker and you just want to get it done. And those are the favorite people, at least for me, to work with, because there is this momentum. Every project, every task has a sense of urgency around it. And it's like, oh, well, if they sort of treat things like that, just normal tasks like that, how are they going to treat, other more serious things that they're responsible for? So I think speed is this like really underrated asset in one's career and one's approach, whether it's for growth or job search, really for everything. Of course, to Joe's point, self-awareness is key. It's not always about speed, but if you don't know what you want, then you could use speed to kind of figure that out. You can say, okay, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. And the more reps and the shorter cycle times, it doesn't
Yes.
need to be like 1 week for this thing that you're planning. Like you could do it in 48 hours. Like that's just a constraint that you can put on yourself that then can reduce the cycle time of feedback, if you will, or learning,
Yep.
or whatever that thing is. And that speed itself, especially like, let's just say you have a call for 15 minutes with some person, and then you pitch them an idea, they say yes. Imagine sending something to them within 24 hours. They'll be so impressed, right? Don't wait for the next week. Just send it in 24 hours, and they would be like, this person is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
Following up in 24 hours is one of the best things ever, right? Like when you get that email, someone says, I'll do something later, and then they come back to you, you're like, wow, okay. Then this person say they're going to do something and they do it quickly. Urgency, speed, I think is madly underrated. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that it helps to defeat that imposter syndrome. Because a lot of people get stuck in that limiting beliefs and the imposter syndrome. I know I went through, everybody went through. I've even trying to be a coach, wanting to be a coach as well. I have tons of limiting beliefs as well. But as I kind of work through them and just, even like for content, like posting every single day, just deciding that I want to kind of do it and just later eventually kind of knowing that every single post, every single thing that I post out there is a data point, is a feedback to kind of inform me of my next path, my next decision. That itself is helpful. I think it's a whole nice reframe of it. And speed is definitely one of the ways to kind of just bypass all this excuses that you give yourself to procrastinate. And yeah, it does really bring the momentum forward and helps to accelerate your growth. So yeah, very good point, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. You just sometimes just don't think too much and just like kind of just go through the rounds and go through those iterations real quick. Okay, guys, there's so many questions, but it's really late for Joseph. I think it's like 11:20 p.m., right?
Oh yes, it's 11:20 p.m.
Okay. So if you do have any more questions, and you guys obviously have a lot of questions, feel free to reach out to Joseph on LinkedIn, follow him on LinkedIn, and sort of pick his brains there. He's got a lot of content around the subjects that we just spoke about. But I just want to give Joseph a couple of moments. I mean, obviously, take as long as you like, but let's just speak about what you're working on and what Career Creators is. And I'll give you a minute here. Like, yeah, again, speak as much about it as you like. Yeah, take it away, Joseph.
All good, man. Thanks, Chris. So I think the key thing that I kind of realize is that there are two type of like people in the market. There is career chasers, folks who are constantly chasing after the next job, spraying and praying, and just chasing and just waiting and not being very proactive in the career. And this is where career creators think differently, where we stop chasing and we start creating opportunities, creating networks, creating referrals, creating job opportunities, and that itself is like the name of the game. So for career creators, what I essentially do is I work with clients all across, mostly mid to senior level UXers in their careers to land 150K to 200K plus jobs that more importantly aligns with their vision, their values, their skill sets, and all of that without applying online. And it's through strategic networking as an example of like what I shared with you earlier in this call. So if you need help in doing that, together in a group, not by yourself, as well as together with me. Invite you to drop me a DM. Write UX, just write creator, right? Just write creator, DM me creator, and I'm more than happy to help you as well. Also, if you want to just get a taste in terms of one of my trainings that I share, I got about 16 plus trainings, I think 70 plus office hours with a lot of interactions with my clients. And all of this is like hours long. In the community in Career Creators. You want to get a piece of training, head over to my profile on my LinkedIn, click on visit my website. You get access to a free 90 minutes training, the exact same training that I do with my clients on portfolio, right? So if you want to structure your portfolio better, you want to tell better stories with portfolio, especially the last one that I shared about in terms of storytelling headlines, I would strongly encourage you to go and check that out. So click my profile, click my picture, click my face, click on visit my website, and you get access to that training for free. All right. Yeah, and hopefully that helps you. And if what I say resonates with you, feel free to follow up with me and reach out to me, share a bit with me about your story, and I see how I can best help you as well. All right.
Awesome. And obviously, scan that QR code. I think that leads to the same website,
Yes.
careercreators.com. So
Yes.
scan that and you'll get your free 90-minute training from Joseph. So I'll just leave that there. I just want to say, Joseph, thank you very much for coming on so late
No worries, man.
and making it to this How to Land Your Dream Job. I guess, are there any final words that if I was a designer, like sort of struggling and I'm going through the rounds of like job search, but I haven't had any luck, I'm kind of anxious about this whole new world of AI, generalization, specialization. Like, are there some leaving words that you can kind of say to me that maybe encourage me, or like, what should I be doing if I'm just confused?
Gotcha. I think that is the best time to take a step back, reset, right? In terms of your job search, either speaking to a person, to a mentor, to a coach, or someone else, to a family or friend, just kind of reset. And more so later is take a step back to reflect on your career, right? Just look probably on your career. I mean, honestly, time is our most valuable currency, right? And it's the most valuable thing that we have. You want to kind of make the best of it, right? If you go to your next role, be whatever role you have applied, and it's not ideal, you're gonna waste time and you're gonna feel angry about it and all that. It's not good, right? So what you want to do is life has already been sending you clues. Life has been your life experience should be telling you clues about what is right for you and what's not right for you. All we need to do is take a step back and reflect. Every single role that we have, reflect it, and I do it with myself as well, and ask three simple things. First one is, what are the three things that I enjoy most about this role in this time? What are three things I don't enjoy about this role in this time? What is my most favorite memory? And then rate it or rank it or score it anywhere from A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4 is up to you. Then you do that for every single one of your career. You just go through your LinkedIn experience, work experience, and go through every single one. And what you have is patterns. Because after that review for every single role, just ask yourself, hey, based on what I've just reflected, what are the 3-5 things that seems to energize me about the work that I do? Not that you're good at and all, but energizes me, that I really enjoy, right? Because naturally, the things that we enjoy doing, we do better, right? So even it's the same thing as I tell my students when I work in schools, it's like, I don't care if you score a distinction, an A and all that, doesn't matter to me. More importantly is, does the work that you do in the projects that you do, which part of it do you enjoy the most? Reflect on that, because it's telling you something. Your body, your soul, the universe is telling you something. So what you want to do is reflect on that. And typically what you have is 3 to 5 factors, what I call the non-negotiable, that you can, of things that is really important to you, that you should rank and read and review your current role. If you have your current employee, rate and review based on those factors and see where it is, right? On a simple scale of like 1 to 5. If most of them are going to be at 1, 2, or 3, then you know that maybe there's room to improve. And if it's like a 4 or 5, then it's good. Then you're in the right kind of zone and it's like aligned to you, right? And do know that this number changes over time. For one job, you can come in that it feels like a dream job. And a dream job, again, what does that mean? It's not a FAANG company. It's not a big tech company. It's not. My definition of dream job is how much aligned is it to you, who you are. That is a dream job, right? Don't get confused. A dream job, if it's like FAANG company, that's not my definition. My definition is how much is it aligned to you. So do that, because that itself brought so much clarity to my clients. And it's one of the first few things that we do as well. It's a very long onboarding form, and but once they kind of go through it, it really got it. Because I got a lot of clarity from that exercise as well. Because once you have done that, every job they go to, when they ask you like, hey, do you have any questions for us? Ask questions about those things, 3-5 things that is most important to you. Right? Or if you're looking for work and roles and companies, looking for companies that align to those 3-5 things. If you don't know, speak to people, ask them about those 3-5 things, and see whether it aligns. Because if it does, then great. Now you have a direction, and you can proactively go and hunt for it. But more so is this whole exercise that you got clarity about yourself, right? And hopefully that brings you some confidence, and more importantly, some control and some autonomy and agency in your job search as well, and more importantly, in your career.
Amazing, Joe. Amazing. Okay, that's a great place to leave it. So again, you've had a lot of people enjoy this. Thank you so much. This was incredibly valuable. Huge thanks. I appreciate that. That helps. So yeah, you've got some fans here today, which is good. Okay, so I'll let you go. Feel free to drop off. I'm just gonna round up this with some closing thoughts. But feel free to drop up. Thank you again, Joseph.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Okay, let me just do this. Where have I left it? Okay, again, I just want to remind you guys that, yes, go follow Joseph and join the Career Creators. Again, your 90-minute free session that he works with his clients on. If you're kind of struggling to figure out some of the portfolio nuances and what to do really, please go follow Joseph on LinkedIn. You can find his profile connected to the event details, of course. And also, if you're on YouTube, then you can also find it in the description. Lastly, I want to finish with, again, if you want more conversations like this, then feel free to subscribe here or here, scan the QR code. So I will send you an email with whenever the next live stream is on. And we touch on a bunch of different topics like the one today, or vibe coding last week. And before that, how to get into design leadership and lots more. We can't get to all your questions today because you just had so many. This is always a hot topic. But again, you can reach out to Joe for that. And the next LinkedIn Live, and I just want to flash that on the screen. It's going to be next week, I think. Yes, and it's with Carla Fernandez, a no-code expert with 25 years of experience working in the field. She's also worked with 150 clients worldwide, and I'll be speaking to her about how to be basically a design team of one, how to wear multiple hats, how to work with clients, manage stakeholders, do the process end to end. And it's just going to be really fun. If you think about, you wanted to be a freelance, you wanted to have your own clients, you wanted to work on a global sort of time frame and different time zones, and be your own sort of design studio of one and design team of one, then it's a great conversation to listen to. Okay, so again, subscribe to that or head to live.uxplaybook.org. I know someone actually mentioned earlier, how do I get the UX resources? If I could just find that comment. I can't find it there. But anyway, it's uxplaybook.org. You know me, so you can find that there. And I think that's it from me. So until next time, this is the day of the next live, which is next week. I'm calling again from Mexico. I think I'll be in Oaxaca this time instead of Tulum. I hope you like the background, guys. But that's it from me. Until next time, bye.
This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.